our policies and did not bring stuff in front of us. I just pointed out again. And how this guy still has a job in the city, I don't know. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hertzberg?
Excuse me, I'm losing my voice today. Thank you, Mayor. So just a couple things that I wanted to talk about, and talking about the parks capital improvement plan. I was there that night, stayed for most of it, and there was a great turnout. Number one is a huge turnout for the city of Deltona, and it was interesting listening through the 6 or 8 groups that the residents were broken up into. The one thing, I didn't realize this, bad on my part, but we already have 23 parks in this city. It's 23 parks. And a lot of what the residents wanted was those parks improved. They wanted improvements in the existing parks, not necessarily new parks, but existing park improvements, especially to the fields, and everybody that said that's exactly what they were talking about. Right now, like several questions have been raised about the Veterans Museum and Thornby, and what wasn't interestingly brought up was the additional 24th park, the pocket park that we're talking about, was budgeted for $100,000, and it has to be an additional $25,000 for gopher tortoise removal. So again, that's an additional park. I'm not against it, but if we're going to talk about really looking at targeting the money and doing a capital improvement project and waiting to see when Marilyn Crotty comes back with those results, I'm going to say, again, that we go ahead and put all the park projects on hold right now. Budgeted or not, put them on hold until, and I'm not talking about the community center, event center, whatever we want to call it, the center. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about unless we're in the middle of park improvements, I mean, before we start doing things, do we want to look at that, or do we want to just continue? Because I'm a firm believer that we have to put some more funding into our parks and fix what is there. Fix what's wrong. Fix the dugouts. Fix and especially, I'm going to just say this publicly, signs. When you go into some of our parks, and most of our parks are deep in community residential area, the signage to get there and the signage leading up to the parks and the entrances are poor. It's very difficult to go into some of these residential areas and find the parks without any signage. And the entranceways, I'm going to hope that we can beautify them as well. So I don't mean that we should stop everything, but I think, and I don't know what the game plan is with the capital improvement plan, how that's going to be rolled out, but I'm strongly in favor of addressing funding for the parks that are really, really in need, including beautification and landscaping. Because even when you go down Saxon by Dewey, those trees overhanging the fence and everything into the sidewalk, that just really has to be brought to a higher level. On another note, this past weekend, I attended Institute of Elected Officials, Municipal Officials Advanced Training in Daytona for 2 days, and unfortunately, Commissioner Bradford was scheduled to go to that as well and couldn't make it due to her father, and my thoughts and prayers go out to her and her family for her loss at this difficult time. And she was very missed by the people. They came from all over the state, and it was very, very interesting to learn that, our issues aren't alone. Every other municipality has issues, they're different. And generally speaking, looking at today's audit, I'm very, very proud of the city of Deltona and the positive things that we have done in terms of our financial solvency. When you look at some of the other cities around the state, what they have going on for financial issues, we are very, very fortunate. And when you look at what's happening at the state today, with the possibility, it had to get sent back to the House, but of an additional $25,000 homestead exemption being placed on the ballot in 2018, I'm worried about that for the city, but I'm not as worried as I would be if I were an elected official in some of these other municipalities that are really going to have issues with that, because we have, over the past 5 years or longer, been very, very financially prudent, contrary to what people might say. We have a very good credit rating. We have a good amount that will cushion us should we have communication services tax revenue taken away, gas tax revenue taken away, CDBG money reduced, and an additional homestead. All those things are going to be a financial hit. And who ends up having to pay for that are the residents, because there's no other money that's going to trickle down from Tallahassee. So thank you to our city staff, and I know Mr. Klinger is gone, but I want to thank for his finance department for all the positive things that he's done. And also, on May 17th, from 6 to 8, I'm going to be having a District 3 Town Hall meeting at our old community center down at Lakeshore Drive, and we are going to, at this time, and I say this with good certainty, unless something changes, have Sheriff Chitwood here, and the town hall will be a Fight the Blight town hall interactive with a listening panel and Sheriff Chitwood coming out to answer some questions. So I'll be sending out a flyer shortly, and it will be the 17th of May from 6 to 8 p.m. So that's another positive, and hopefully we can all come together to really look at what things we can do to fight the blight that will enhance Deltona and have resident input to see what you want to have done and how your solutions would be to step up the blight situation and take care of that in our city. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Honaker?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple notes before I get on to my comments. One, just a reminder, commission recommendations for hiring or firing a city employee, if you did have any, should be done on a one-on-one basis with the city manager, not directed by the commission from dais, because that would be a violation of the charter, interfering with employees. And as far as that flyer goes, that's our normal use of the logo for informing residents of a new service that we're providing to them. I didn't see that as marketing, Brian, as you did. That's my only difference, and I didn't see that as marketing or advertising for that business, but informing our residents that you now have a medical facility that you can go to. That was a service I thought we provided to them. But for my comments, I attended a seminar on some of the topics for parliamentary procedures, Robert's Rules. The city manager was there. Commissioner Herzberg also attended. A couple quick notes that, just a reminder, minutes are a permanent record of what happened at a meeting. It doesn't have to be what was said. So, if you see our minutes are shorter than some of the other cities, you don't have to put what you said. That's not what's required by minutes. It's required as a record of what happened at the meeting. They voted on it, the motion was made, they voted, all that stuff. The stormwater loan, I had mentioned at a prior meeting, maybe paying that off. Good initiative. Right now, we made our May payment. We would save $1.7 million in interest. However, there's always a however. It was a good initiative, but we can't consider it till May 1st, 2019. They did look into it for me, and there's a stipulation in the loan documents that it cannot be paid off before May 1st, 2019, because they want to make some money off the interest. I mean, that's why they gave us the loan. They want to make money, so they're in business too. Just so you know, there's a lot of talk about the CRA. We're coming up with a budget looking at spending money on the CRA. When the main source of revenue on a CRA, it's not something you immediately start spending money on. The main source of revenue on a CRA is when you create it, like we created 2016, that all the property in that CRA area, the assessed value is calculated at that time. And let's say this year we're going up 12% over our assessed value. Just use rough numbers. The assessed value was $300 million for that property. It wasn't, but that's a number. This year, it's $310 million. Then that $10 million over, whatever the taxes were on that, would be earmarked and go into our CRA fund automatically. That's where the money comes from for a CRA. So the money's not immediately there. So when we start looking at that budget and spending money on the CRA, we need to think about not spending money that's going to be hard to come by in the future out of our general fund on the CRA when there's going to be funds in there eventually. It's a patient thing. It's not something that happens immediately. We talked about the fire services assessment fee. I would like to talk about it during the budget process of getting this study done, because it's not something you can just jump right into. You need to have a study done, not to mention any names, but there's one group that does it for almost every city that has a fire services assessment fee. They've done the study for them because they know what to look for and what you can and cannot charge on a fire service assessment fee. But we're talking about you want to do things for parks. Just so you know, just our fire and the police department is $20 million, $10 million each. A little over 10 on one, a little under 10 on the other. $20 million in tax money that we get from collected each year that you pay in your bill. We get 13.5 million, thereabouts, 13.4, 13.5. That's not even enough to pay for our safety and security. So we have to look at where else can we get money from. So if we have a fire service assessment fee, even if it's only 30 or 40%, it's something towards that we don't have to take it all out of the general fund, that we're not getting enough in there anyway. So we're having to take from other areas where we get income, revenue. And what's coming, and the reason I'm talking about this, because the third homestead exemption was approved by the House and Senate, which means it's going to come up for vote next year. Do you want a third exemption? Well, who's going to say no? I don't want $25,000 more taken off my house before they do taxes. Everybody's going to say yes. So it sounds great, but that's less money that we have to provide you services. Our estimate is it's going to cost Deltona $1.3 million when that's approved, out of our budget. But we want parks, we want fire, we want police. So be patient with us. We're trying to come up with a budget that can provide you all the services you need, but there's a big issue coming from Tallahassee that they passed this without thinking about the cities and not caring about our budget, because what happens with that homestead exemption, right now you get two of them. It's $50,000 off the assessed value of your house. Let's say your house is worth $75,000. After they take that away, the only thing you're taxed is the $25,000 left. So if they do another $25,000 exemption and your house is only assessed, not your market value, but assessed by the property appraiser at $75,000, you get $75,000 off in exemptions. There's no tax, which sounds great to you, but there's no revenue coming to the city. So just be patient with us. We'll come up with the best budget we can, but there are things coming out of Tallahassee that just astounds me of what they're doing to the cities. And the other thing I had from that parliamentary procedures, just so we know, lay on the table is not the correct terminology for laying something over to another meeting. That means you laid it on the table for later on in that meeting. What we should be saying is postpone to a certain time, and that moves it to another meeting. It was one of the things they brought out is all the cities are using this lay on the table, and that just means you've laid it on the table till a later time in that particular meeting. You have to use postpone to a certain time.
I don't know that we use that term, but you're right. You're exactly right. That's what Robert first said.
I just thought those two things, that minutes were.
thank you.
So,
Commissioner Honaker was in his element in parliamentary procedure. He loved it.
Nobody's ever used that term here. But anyway.
I could see
but thanks.
Commissioner Honaker
Yeah, he was probably in his glory.
That was great.
Are you through, sir?
I am.
Commissioner Alcantara, you have the floor.
Can you please take one and pass it down? I'll be bringing that up in a little bit. 2 Samuel 22:7.
This is back on.
I called on Yahweh in my distress. I called to my Elohim for help. He heard my voice from his temple, and my cry for help reached his ears. During the weekend, I put out a call to prayer on social media, asking everybody, whoever believes in a higher power, to pray to that higher power that you have in your heart and ask for rain. We take nature for granted. We take God's creation for granted, and we need to ask him for rain. We desperately need it. While on the insert that was put in the water bill, I agree with the logo. Whenever you're going to use the city logo, you should come to the commission for our approval. During the campaign, I took a picture of City Hall, and I had to erase the flag that's hanging in the front because it had the city logo. So we need to be equitable. Now, with the inserts, I was also thinking about the small businesses and all the businesses we have throughout our city. Maybe it would be a good idea to start a program where the city businesses could maybe have like a program where they can pay and advertise their business in those bills. That's just something to think about, because we do have a lot of small businesses that could use the help. I also wanted to know if I wanted to put out a voluntary call to prayer insert in the water bill, could we do that? Right now, we need people to pray. We need water. Can we do an insert, a voluntary call to prayer? Can we do a voluntary call to prayer? Would there be an issue with putting a voluntary call to prayer in insert in the water bill?
I would recommend against it. It'll invariably lead to objections and to potentially for a lawsuit. Now, I'm not going to tell you you can't do it without studying the issue a little bit more, but you can almost guarantee that there'll be those who take offense at it.
Well, you know, everyone hearing me right now, and if you hear this, see this meeting later on, just please pray for rain. We need rain. I had a question for the city manager. You know when our CUP expires? When does our CUP expire?
Our cup,
A cup for water?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look that up.
A few years.
You know, we saw that, we all got emails that the Lake Monroe Project 4A is on hold. That's still on hold, correct?
Actually, there was a bid protest, but I believe we have resolved the issue, and the bid protest will be withdrawn.
Okay, but they haven't started, correct?
I'm sorry?
They have not started work on that.
Construction?
Yeah.
No.
What is that project going to accomplish? What is it meant for?
It is regards to reclaimed water.
Yeah, but like what does it do? The $10 million we're spending on it, what does the project, what does it accomplish? Like where's the water coming from? What are we doing with it?
We're increasing our ability to provide reclaimed water. So in other words, it will help us in regards to our water requirements and in turn our cup.
Okay. Personally, I don't think we should be doing that project. What I was told is that rib sites take stormwater, gray water, takes all this water, treats it, and then we're replenishing the aquifer with it. That's what I was told, that it pumps water back into the aquifer, the Lake Monroe project. That is a requirement in order for us to maintain our CUP. Is that not what it does? It's not an aquifer replenishing thing?
I've never heard.
That I'll have to get back to you on.
So
I
it's
don't
just for
have-
reclaimed water?
Can I,
It's going to take water from the St. Johns River. It's going to send it to the reclaim plant, mix it with reuse water to extend the amount of reclaim that we're able to put out into the city.
Now, you know, one thing when I met with staff, they told me that reclaimed water, in order to get it throughout the city, is very, very expensive. I know of, I was told Live Oak, Coventry, and I believe one of the parks, Saxon Ridge. But it's very expensive to get that reclaimed water throughout the city. And my question is, if we're spending $10 million on a project to do that, do we have a plan in place to be able to actually get that reclaimed water to our residents?
It's going to be, my understanding is it's going to be able to supply the existing reclaim systems that are currently in the ground that we don't have the reclaim to send out. And by sending, right now, we pump, in these current drought conditions that we're in, we're probably pumping, I haven't seen recent figures, but we're probably pumping somewhere around 25 to 26 million gallons a day. If you go to December, you pump about half that amount, 11 to 12. And so the idea is if people are watering their grass more, is where it's going. So if you make more reclaimed available, you're reducing the amount of potable water that we're pumping out of the ground and we're treating. So that project that we got St. John's partial funding for will help to make more reclaimed available, which will help offset what we're pumping out of the ground, which will help meet our cup requirements.
And you know, that's for the people who are on reclaim right now. And you know, it's not that many. It's not that many. That's a lot of money for the small amount of users of reclaim, in my opinion.
Commissioner, it's a very big issue, but there's also one other aspect. We have a contract to supply hundreds of thousands of gallons to one person in town, one entity in town. And part of the reason for this was when we had the battle about water rates, part of that was the more reclaim we can use, the more potable water we have, which will lessen the cost to all the residents. And this is not just us doing this. This is a partnership that we're a part of. So if we pull out, the entire partnership fails. It's a partnership with the West Volusia utility provider. So this is something we've been working a long time on. So I guess Matt could go into much more detail.
Yeah, I had some questions, but I didn't see,
Well-
I don't see him here.
Yeah,
so.
but it's a project we've been working on for a long time, and it's part of the approval of our CUP to do certain things, and this is part of it.
Mayor, may I also state that we are having two workshops on water. They're coming up. The first one will be next Monday, and then, of course, the last workshop in the month that we have dedicated to discuss all these water issues. The second point I want to make is that this whole project has been discussed numerous times before the commission, and has been approved time and time again.
Okay, thank you.
And staff is always available to meet with you to answer whatever questions you
All
may
right.
have.
Thank you.
And I would defer that, because Matt is not here, if you would defer your questions or at least allow the expert, Matt, to provide answers before you
Will
make
do.
any conclusions.
Next, I wanted to recognize our IT director. He appeared in several magazines, CIO Magazine, Efficient Government Magazine, Toggle Magazine, so I want to recognize him for that. Next, I want to bring up the trash rules. I kind of mentioned it in passing at a previous meeting. This is something that I hear over and over and over again. This is almost a year into the trash rules. I gave each one of you a poll that I did on social media. I did it in this group called Blvd Deltona, which has around 720 residents. I know that with polls that, you know, they're not sometimes very accurate if they're not done correctly, but I'm using this as a good estimate, as a representative sample for the city as a whole. One question I asked was, are you happy with the existing rules? The answers, no, rules need to be improved. Yes, changes were necessary. I am indifferent, don't have an opinion. 47 of the 51 respondents, 92%, said no, rules need to be improved. Only 6% said yes, changes were necessary, and only one person said they're indifferent. Another question I asked was, if our trash rules were to be changed again, how should bulk pickup be handled? 56 respondents. The way it is being handled now, called to schedule a pickup and pay if necessary, 0. No one likes the way we're doing it right now, from the ones who've responded so far. Bulk pickup once a month, up to 3 times per year. Fees for bulk pickup after 3, 1 person. Bulk pickup on every trash day, 5 or 9%. Bulk pickup every other week or twice a month, 6 people, 10%. 4 amnesty days a year, put everything out, everything gets taken away. 7 people, 12.5%. Monthly bulk pickup, put everything out once a month and have it all taken away. 37 people out of 51, 66%. So I bring this up because who are we representing up here? It's the people. And by this alone and the amounts of complaints I get of people who are unhappy, we need to tweak these rules again. And I don't know how we can do it. Can I do it through a motion that we have 1 bulk pickup a month? How do we go about doing it?
Sir, we're under a contract.
Yeah,
So
but
anything,
this is
you can make motions all day long.
No,
but
I
we have
understand
to
we're under a contract, but it's not the contract that I want to change. I want to change the ordinance.
You would have to have a discussion, we'd have to schedule that for discussion, and then we would have to contract the hauler and ask the hauler if they're willing to do, and what would be the fee?
Well, let's add it to a future agenda. Let's find out, not a workshop, let's put it on the agenda, find out what is it going to take to get 1 bulk pickup a month, have, contact the contractor, find out, put it on the agenda, and then we vote.
Unlimited.
One a month.
Okay.
1 a
Okay,
month,
that's good.
because that was the majority of the
Anybody have an
people,
objection to that?
66%.
Nobody objects, okay. Let her,
Not a workshop, put it on the
agenda,
commission
let her find
agenda.
out the cost from the hauler, that's all. That's a legitimate request.
Oh, to just, oh, the cost,
The
yeah.
cost, that's all.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, sir. You-
All right, so I'll be looking for that in a future agenda. Next was I also had some concerns with the center. I had a couple that came to my town hall meeting. They told me seniors were the catalyst for the center, but now they're just an afterthought. I know that there's a designated area for the seniors that are going to be used by the council of aging, but if you look at the big picture and how much space they're getting compared to the whole, they're really not getting much. And they were the catalyst for the center, and I really haven't heard anything about youth at all yet. I also have concerns with the person we hired. I'm not confident that they're the best person for the job. One of the qualifications was you have to have a bachelor's degree in either hospitality, public relations or marketing, or a related field. His degree was in education. I was told that, well, he had his focus was business. Well, according to a transcript that I received in my email, the focus was education. so he doesn't even qualify for the job. That's a no-brainer right there. We need the best person running the center if we truly want to break even. Alcohol sales, liquor sales, I got that 43% of revenues we're hoping to get from liquor sales. I have a concern about it. I don't think that this government should be selling liquor. We should not be selling liquor, but we've been put in a bad place. Our backs up are against the wall because we need to pay for this bond. I asked you, did you do a feasibility study before the center was done? You said, well, this has been talked about for 10 years. I don't know if a feasibility study been done. A feasibility study should have been done before this was even started. I do have an idea, and just throwing it out there. I think that we should tweak with the center and actually make it a community center. We should tweak it. There's time to change some of the construction, in my opinion. Let's bring churches, nonprofits together. Let them run the center, maintain the programs, run it for our youth, special needs, employment resource center, liberal arts programs, etc. Let our community run the center. Let's actually make it about the community. Let's bring the community together. We don't have to worry about the staffing to run it. Let's have a partnership with our community. Let's bring the community together around this center and make it an actual community center. Let them also be in charge of fundraising. Let's go out and speak to these corporations that are in the city, Walmart, Lowe's, CVS, all these corporations who make a lot of money, and yes, they give us jobs as well, and we thank them for that, but they make millions of dollars off our residents. Let's get them to buy into this community center. Let's look for creative ways to make the money. I don't want us to sell alcohol. In my opinion, that's not a done deal. It needs to be brought back to the commission. One concern, we talked about businesses, right? Prior to me being on the commission, I drove here to City Hall. I was asked to speak with the city manager. I told her there's a business in Orange City, the third largest employer in Orange City. They want to look into moving to Deltona. Gave you the information. That was around summertime of last year. I called them, Chincher Electric. No, I haven't got a call from the city manager. I saw you again at the Festival of Nations. Gave you the information again, because I asked you about it, you forgot the information I gave you. I brought it to you again. I called them again. Have you been? No. You know when I totally forgot about this because out of sight, out of mind, but you know where this was brought up, that State of the Region address with the mayors? Mm-hmm. The other mayor from Orange City, lauding that Chincher Electric expanded in Orange City, third largest employer, and you didn't contact them.
I don't recall, but I do recall you giving me a contact, and I did contact. In fact, I believe I met with somebody, and I would always pass it on, so.
Well, I spoke with the business owner, and according to the business owner, you did not meet with them.
Well, that's my recollection. And
Okay,
also,
well-
at times, I will have staff also make some contacts.
Okay, well, if you're talking about businesses, you're the city manager, you're talking about the third largest employer in Orange City, you're gonna delegate that to somebody else? You should be doing that. Talking about the third largest employer in Orange City wanting to move to Deltona. I mean, it's a done deal now, they expanded in Orange City, but this is where we're talking about bringing businesses. We pay you over $200,000 with your whole package. That's a lot of money to not even look into this opportunity. That's it, they're expanding in Orange City.
Commissioner, I believe the facts are incorrect, but I will look at my notes and whatever and investigate.
Okay,
But I
well,
believe your facts are
I
incorrect.
spoke to the owner yesterday, so, but, all right, let's see. What's that? All right, in February, during my commissioner comments, I tried to reason with everybody why I believe we need a new city manager. My comments were not emotionally driven, they were backed by facts. It's been over a month since I made my plea with you all up here. Plenty of time for everyone to reflect. This is not a complete list, but the following are reasons why I am ready to terminate Jane Shank's employment with our city. Number one, her handling of the union contract negotiations. Number 2, her manipulation of the comp study. Number 3, her dismantling of our fire administration within months of being city manager, running off Fire Chief Mark Rames, a highly respected administrator who could not take working under our city manager. Her firing of Deputy Fire Chief shortly after Rames' resignation. Her reason, he wasn't a good fit, even though you cannot find a blemish in his personnel file. The former chief had this to say: "It still disturbs me that she terminated Russ without a justifiable cause. He was an excellent, dedicated employee." Number 4, her insubordination in giving another charter officer the green light to dismantle a city computer. The city manager is not in charge of charter officers, this commission is. Number 5, her attempt to throw a potential whistleblower under the bus for voicing legitimate concerns via email. We should want our employees to speak up when they have concerns, not shut them down when they do. Number 6, Jane knew as early as November 4th that her significant other called one of our citizens a Hispanic trash, yet she didn't think that it was important enough to share with the commission. We had to find out via residents' public records request. Number 7, related to the same incident, she addressed the issue at one of our meetings, stating that there are 2 sides of every story and proceeded to only give one side, her significant other side. This is blatant disrespect to the victim of his verbal and psychological abuse. Number 8, related to the same issue, placing staff from Parks and Rec Department in the uncomfortable position of investigating an incident involving their boss's significant other. Number 9, failing to protect our seniors by doing nothing about her boyfriend, who has been involved in several incidents, calling one of our citizens a Hispanic trash, threatening a woman who has special needs who's hard at hearing, making racial remarks about a minority couple's faith. None of these victims have had a history of issues. Her boyfriend has, and Jane has done nothing. 10, excluding the director of Parks and Rec and the hiring of events manager. When the position was made, it was placed under his department. 11, failure to meet with a resident for months. 12, failing to do a feasibility study before the new center was approved. Number 13, putting our government in the tough position of having to sell liquor due to her poor planning on how we would pay for the center. Number 14, being so disconnected from our community that fed up parents, their children, contractors, etc., have to come and voice their concerns because Jane doesn't have a good grasp of what the issues and true needs of our community are. Number 15, probably the most important, her inexperience. The fact that many of the cogs in this wheel we call Deltona government say she is on-the-job training. She was never a city manager before coming here. Why would we pay over $200,000 to someone who was never a city manager? Why? Doesn't make any sense to me. For all these reasons, and this is not an extensive, this is just the things that I know about in my 4 months being here. I move to terminate Jane Shang's employment effective immediately with necessary time notices if there be any.
Second.
Our standing policy is we don't take motions and that, so I'm going to be criticized for saying anything other than that. There is a motion on the floor. We are in chambers, and we are actively working as a city commission. There's a motion on the floor, and there's a second on the motion. During discussion, commissioners?
Well, I mean, you just heard my comments, and mine, add mine to what he just said, because it just...
We heard your comments, sir.
But that's my
But I
point. Now,
mean
there's a
on
whole
this.
other thing here. Here we go. Listen, he just brought up the contractors. The contractors met with you and Ms. Shang. I'm getting word back from the contractors that they were told not even to contact anybody on this commission, to only stick between you two. I mean, I think there's some major issues here. I think we have leadership issues here. I believe we have someone who is answering to one person and making some seriously bad decisions. So I am 100% behind. I believe it's time to cut our losses. We said when we were hiring this position that the person must have experience as a city manager of the size or greater. This manager never did have experience as a city manager. They were deputy city manager of transportation. And we have seen since she's been here a complete cluster. And that's the nicest way I can say it, so.
All right, there's a motion on the floor in a second. You made a motion, sir, right?
Yeah, well, we're in discussion now. Well, a lot of the issues that have been discussed, that have been out in the public in the last few months, in the last half year, have been because of poor decision-making on Jane's behalf. A lot of it, we're being criticized by the public, but it wasn't our fault. A lot of these poor decisions that Jane has made has led to a lot of distrust in the community and on this commission and on this government. And I know it's not intentional. This is her first time being city manager. I know this is a lot of weight on her shoulders. I understand that. But a lot of the issues that have been brought up were because of decision-making, poor decision-making that she has taken. Like, if we don't hold the city manager accountable, who's going to hold her accountable? Who? Who's going to hold her accountable if we don't hold her accountable? We cannot continue to accept mediocrity.
Sir, your motion's been made, and it's been properly seconded. Commissioner Honaker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Doing something different than somebody else doesn't make the way they do it wrong. I've seen procedures that I would have done differently over my career. Doesn't make them wrong, and I call for a vote.
Commissioner Hertzberg,
Commissioner Honaker called for the vote. I second it.
all right. Would you call the roll for the motion?
Electronically vote, please.
You can do it electronically or call the roll. Your motion, sir. Motion fails. All right. Vice Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Sukup, with regards to the tag readers, when I had asked that the additional tag readers be placed into the budget, I asked for performance information after they were up and running, and so we should definitely see that. Originally, if you remember, these tag readers were going to go on vehicles, and there was a technology issue with that. But when they brought the tag reader into the city on a vehicle, and I wish the captain was here, just in the 48 hours that they had it here, they had gotten several hits on hot cars, on warrants, and,
Right.
and things of that nature. So I'm with you. It has to perform.
Do you know how we chose where how did we choose where they're at? Do you know that?
I believe that was the sheriff's office
Sheriff's Office
recommendation.
chose the locations.
Yeah, I believe it was.
'Cause I thought originally we were talking about catching them as they come off I-4. So
Well, I think the county has strategically placed some out of the county budget. These were additional ones to be within the city, but I'm with you on the performance. The numbers have to be there. They have to get the right amount of hits. Pine Ridge Health Academy, as you know, I'm on the advisory board there. We did a anti-drinking and driving program there. There were numerous agencies, the Sheriff's Office, Deltona Fire, Pine Ridge High School, Florida Hospital, Deltona Memorial Gardens, several other agencies were instrumental in putting that together in hopes that we would get a strong message to the seniors and juniors that were going to prom, and hopefully that message did get out, and there were no DUI fatalities or injuries as a result of prom this year. With regards to the Parks and Rec, I was at the forum. I think there was a lot of folks here that were from the leagues, that were from the teams, the people that use the fields. There wasn't some. I thought we were going to have more conversation about, the future and development of new fields and new facilities and that. But I can't really see moving forward with any new parks facilities in the upcoming budget year when we're not being able to maintain the ones that we have. So I think this year, it's cheaper to fix than it is to replace, and maybe there's room to expand some of the existing ones that we have. So my focus when we go into budget for Parks and Rec will be on maintenance and on expanding within the existing properties that are already developed. I agree with Commissioner Honaker. I'd like to schedule, Mayor, if you could, another meeting for the policies and procedures for the commission to try and finish that up. I think Commissioner Sukup, you brought up about ECHO money. Do you know how that board is comprised, or does anybody know?
Yes.
Okay, how is that board comprised?
I guess everyone on county council gets to make one, they appoint one person.
Okay, so we need to lobby the county council reps to try and get somebody from here placed onto that board. I find that.
Well, we had 2 Deltona residents.
Well, can it be other elected officials, or does it have to be a resident?
It can be whoever they put on it.
Okay, well, we need to look at who's on that board and try and get some representation that we would have some influence with, I think, and I agree with you, we need to definitely be looking at, for the parks, for the maintenance and that, and if we expand any of the existing parks, that'll be a focus, I think, within next year's budget to look at those ECHO funds. With regards to the event center, I'll reserve some comment for that, but I will say, I think we need to have a business plan at this point put in front of us with a great deal of detail. My impression of the workshop was that everything that came to us was basically a draft, and that was going to be formalized and come back to the commission for formal adoption and action. In any case, if I'm not correct in that, I would suggest that we direct the manager to do that. Let's put a business plan together and let's move it forward at this point. But it sounds like we're going to have a workshop because there's some difference of opinion and different ideas of where we're going with that. And we don't have time at this hour of the evening to delve into that. That's going to be a 4 or 5 hour discussion at the minimum. And the last thing that I'll say, and this is rather humorous to me, is you all chastised me and spanked me when I took to social media with regards to the trash. I sat here and told this commission what we did with the trash was an abomination, was the wrong result. It may have started out with good intentions, but the only way you're going to fix the contract with Waste Pro is not with an ordinance. It is to go out to bid and put in the bid specifically what we want to have done. To have the recycle service like Orange City has, where they're putting it in a 64-gallon tote and wheeling the recycles out. I don't care what Waste Pro says about mixing the trash and the cost of sorting it. I watch mixed containers of recycles go into that truck every Friday in my district. So the fact of, well, you have to separate cans and bottles and there's a cost with that, they're mixing it all together now, okay? So the trash, the way it's going is burdensome. It's problematic on a multitude of levels. And we had talked about hiring Redmond to come in and to evaluate the program. And I think that before we develop a bid, we need to bring Redmond in. We need them to evaluate what's going on here, take what we're doing well, and you continue to use it, put that in the bid, take what's not working, get rid of it, come up with alternatives, rather than staff just developing a bid that we have to, either us try and tweak it up here, and we're no more educated in it than staff is,
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sorry, Commissioner Alcantara, but 60 people out of 80,000 isn't a great representation of what the people want. With that said, maybe Redmond can do some type of a survey like that may reach several thousand people, that we would get several thousand people to respond back to us. We need to look at commercial pickup and requiring that commercial pickup is the same company that is picking up the residential in the community, and spreading that cost of the contract out amongst the commercial properties. There's a great deal of things that need to be done to fix the trash problem in the city. Sitting down and trying to tweak an ordinance that we bastardized is not going to fix the problem, okay? It's going to take fixing the contract, and I don't know how many months we have left on that. 19? Okay, so now's
Get
the
Redmond in
time.
now.
Now is the time to hire Redmond,
Thank
or,
you.
and I don't think there's another company out there. I think
There's
it's
not.
almost like a sole provider. But, okay, so we need to hire them, we need to get them on board, we need to give the manager direction what we're looking for with regards to the trash.
I think that should be put in the form of a motion, Vice Mayor,
But
and formalized.
It's a budget item.
it's already budgeted, I believe.
Budgeted.
So we just need to go ahead and I think I'm hearing consensus, Mayor, to hire Redmond and bring them in and start evaluating the trash situation.
It's not budgeted, but
Excuse me, Jana.
Excuse me, I have the floor still.
I understand.
Okay. So if that money, I believe, is still in the budget, so if we can go ahead and move that forward, then let's go ahead and do that. And I'll reserve the rest of my comments. Yeah.
I had a comment. We had some people requesting to speak. You have some speakers? Well, you have some speakers who want to speak? I don't know who's on there.
Me off.
No, I just want to know when we're going to put it on the agenda to address the bulk pickup, because we already just said that we're going to put it on the agenda. Which agenda? What meeting? Because she needs direction of when to put it on the
She
agenda.
has to contact the hauler to find out when they can give us a price.
Can we know within a week or so when we're going to,
She's got to
when it's going to be on the
contact the
agenda?
hauler.
Because I want to see it on the agenda. I don't want us to, we spoke about it, and then, because I bring things up, and then you guys say, oh, it's going to be on this, and then I
Mr.
don't hear about
Alcantara,
it.
I understand what you want, and we gave her direction that you asked for her to contact the hauler.
And we said it's going to be on a future meeting agenda.
We can't tell the hauler what to do as far as answering. It's going to take time to make some sort of an estimate of how much you're talking about. You're talking an enormous thing. If you're going to have one day a month for bulk pickup and people can put anything out there, the magnitude of what that could be and how many trucks they'd have to have the one day.
I mean, it used to be every day, every garbage. Now it's, I'm talking
No,
about
so you're
one
talking-
a week, once a month.
You said once a month.
Once a month, that's
Yep.
it.
But you don't, okay, but we're getting into something that needs to be discussed at length. Think of this,
Get Redmond.
35,000 homes they'd have to go to once a month, now not the other 28, 29, 30 days, and pick it all up one day.
Well,
The magnitude of that would be astronomical.
Find out
But
what
you
they
want
say.
to find out.
Find out
yeah.
what they say.
But they can't do that overnight. But as soon as you can get that information, if you would contact them, then we'll move back.
Mine was just an answer to the question. The cup was renewed. It doesn't expire until November of 2033.
2033, that's all these things that we're doing.
We're spending millions of dollars right now.
All right,
On things for a cup that doesn't expire in 2033.
I guess I have to say something. Sir, a lot of the things that we do, it's easy to make the statement you just said, we're spending money on a thing that happens 2033. Cups are issued, having been through that process, it's a long process to get the cup issued. You're issued it for a long period of time based on certain things that you agree to do during that time. Part of that was this coalition that we put together here with the Bruce Springs watershed, the other cities, the utilities. So you can't just walk, we're a victim of, we can't walk away from some of these deals because they're part and parcel of that. It's the minimum levels at Blue Springs. There's a lot of things that base that on. And our cup is far superior for what we need. So we've got a good deal right now, but we got to keep doing these projects. And we can't just pull out of these projects. But I heard an enormous amount of things tonight, and I'm not going to belabor it because I don't think that's what Commissioner Common's portion is for. Well, we got to find a way to work it out. But there's still a lot of bad information, a lot of bad information. And you could talk about ECHO, you could talk about, we need to work together and make these things right instead of criticizing the way they're going. Let's put forth ideas and talk it out about making it better, not just condemning what's going on. We've done a whole lot of talking about alcohol and a liquor license. Nobody's asked my opinion of it. I don't offer it. But when the time is appropriate and we talk about it, I darn sure got consideration. And what?
They're already moving forward.
They're moving forward with a draft of ideas, and the city attorney and I already talked about it, and I shared with him that I didn't like the idea. So don't assume because you hear something that any one of us supports these ideas. We're adjourned.